Please welcome Ms. Sarah Police from the MFSA, who will be talking about financial literal initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you also to the Ministry for Social Policy and to Jem and to Helena, who have invited the MFSA to take part in this very interesting conference. Consumer education and financial literacy is one of the MFSA's current strategic priorities for this year. I was wondering whether the presentation can be uploaded. Okay, here it is, okay. Still getting used to the text here. So yes, as I was saying, yeah. Whoops. All right. As I was saying, consumer education and financial literacy is one of the strategic priorities for the MFSA of this year, for these years. And why? It's because we believe that empowered consumers are good consumers who can take better financial decisions, not just from a social perspective, because that would obviously foster a feeling of well-being within society at large, but even from an economic perspective. A good consumer can ask questions, can buy better products, would have more confidence in the local markets, and that would also increase the number of financial instruments, financial products available on the market, which would in turn help consumers actually manage their finances better and make better decisions. So it's not just, it's a bilateral aspect from the social and from the economic. It is also a statutory duty in terms of Article 4 of the MFSA. So we do actually have a statutory duty to provide, foster and training knowledge and educational matters relating to financial services and to ensure investor confidence in the regulated markets. Again, as I mentioned, the more consumers are familiar with how the market works, with how instruments work, with how product works, the better the economy runs. And at the end of the day, who benefits from a positive economy? It's us, it's the consumers, it's people in general. So it's a virtuous circle, as I would put it. So my purpose over here is to take you a bit through the initiatives which the MFSA currently takes in terms of educating, consumer education and consumer awareness of various products and our initiatives for the coming years. So what types of channels we use to actually send our message. First of all, there's the MFSA website, and it's quite an informative. There's a section particularly related for consumers. And as you can see, there are specific groups and targets related to topics which we have covered over the past years. So consumers can go into our websites and find podcasts, videos, articles, as I will be mentioning later, they're all grouped on our website according to the topics. So our website also hosts various tools. For example, we have a guide on scam protection, so people can look at this guide and help them and familiarize themselves with what measures they can take to avoid being subject to scams. As well, another tool is the payment account comparison tool. So everyone over here and everyone, I think, in Malta has a payment account with one of the financial institutions, one of the banks we have. And this tool allows consumers to actually compare the costs of each bank and each financial institution which provides a particular payment account. And this would help consumers decide where to open their accounts when it comes to costs. It's an interactive tool which can be used very easily. What we have as well, and which I think is very useful, and it's being used as well, is a jargon buster. As you may be aware, financial products are very technical products. They have long words, they have difficult words. So what we did is basically create a dictionary. It's organized alphabetically where the consumer can just go click and find a long word or a technical word explained in a user-friendly manner. And the intention is for consumers to be able to understand better the products or the services which they are currently considering. It's a very useful tool which is being resorted to as much. We also engage a lot in social media. It's the in thing. I mean, news travels fast, social media travels faster. So we do YouTube adverts, Google adverts, and this was in relation, these screenshots are in relation to a campaign we held last year on crypto assets. Okay, we go on TV, radio interviews. Some of you might have seen us on TV and in programs. So you can see the program *EMMA over there, which is very common. And I think the other one is *AM actually, which are very, magazine programs, which have very good following, and where we feel that we are reaching a great number of consumers over there. And we also go on to radio, more younger styles. Bay Radio, for example, over there we mentioned, and other radio channels as well. We do online and print newspaper articles as well whenever there's a campaign going on the subject of the campaign. So that would attract a different cohort of society as well, who are more familiar and more available, have a bit more time perhaps to read the newspaper, online and print. Okay, we do also digital banners on the online perspective as well, on websites which you can click. For example, those banners over there were related to the campaign on online banking, where you can click the banner and you will be led through the information, more information about the banners. We also do the bus shelters sometimes. It's an advert, it's a marketing campaign, but it's targeted to prompt the consumers to ask more, find more information, and actually learn more at the end of the day. We also do school visits. We're coordinating a number of school visits as well, where we target students of various age. So it's not to explain to them, basically, obviously, it's age-appropriate content with respect to certain financial products. So we explain what's a bank account, why you need a bank account, what's an insurance, why do you need insurance. Obviously, these would need to be age-related. This is another initiative which we have done. We have printed leaflets and posters to be left at banks. This was an initiative related to the basic payment account. It's a requirement from an EU directive which requires basically banks to offer certain basic banking service to all consumers. And this is in the context of the bankability of consumers at large. It came to our attention through our supervisory duties that perhaps there was not enough of this information. Consumers weren't aware of these rights which was available to them. So basically what we did, we hosted a campaign with the online and on our websites, but we also actually printed leaflets and put them out in banks. We asked banks to put these leaflets in their branches so that bank customers could obviously take a branch and become more aware of their rights in asking for a bank account. It was a very popular campaign. We went on TV on this as well, and we have noticed an increase in take-up as well. So some topics which we have recently addressed, basic run-through. We've carried out campaigns on, these are just a few, there were others, but these are the more recent ones, on bank loans and credit cards, the online banking as well, on inflation, which was a very topical subject, especially last year. And we also noticed, I don't know if it's related to this, but I'm quite sure it was a contributive factor as well, that the knowledge on inflation actually increased between the 2018 study and the 2023 studies as well. So I'm sure it contributed. Cryptocurrencies, warnings on scams, warnings on unlicensed investment service providers, basic payment account, home insurance, and insurance-based investment products. One thing I wanted to mention as well is that we actually issue warnings on entities which are purporting to carry out services, financial services, without being licensed. That's an offense in terms of Maltese law. Unfortunately, it happens even like online. We get a lot of online people targeting activities are targeting Maltese clients. So basically what we do, we issue a warning to clients so that they are aware that if they're contacted by these entities, they have to be careful because these entities are not regulated by the authority. So ongoing to the consumer education campaigns we plan to carry out during 2024, this year. One of them, oops, okay, so much for keeping the surprise. Okay, this campaign is already underway. It's been launched a couple of weeks ago. It's on greenwashing. This is related to the context of sustainable finance, as we have seen in the OECD presentation as well. Sustainable finance and digital literacy were one of the most focal points. A few adults across participating countries in the OECD questionnaire hold financial products that are labeled sustainable green or otherwise indicate sustainable designation. In Malta, only 3.2% 50% of the respondents holds these products. And we consider that these products are quite desirable, obviously, in context of sustainable finance, which relates basically to the channeling of funds towards more environmental, social, and governance related positive impact-related investments. So the more we have people investing in these type of products, the better in terms of ESG and in terms of a better world we would be living. So it's important to try and foster a demand for these products, because that would foster, obviously, the manufacture of these products for the better channeling of these funds. However, the danger with these products is that the potential of greenwashing, where entities would declare themselves to be environmentally friendly or using socially acceptable methods in their practices, in their day-to-day practices, when actually they don't. They just make these statements to attract investments, and that is called greenwashing. So consumers need to be aware that if they are wishing and willing and wanting to make an investment in a so-called green product, they have to make sure that the product actually does what it says on the tin, and basically that it is actually really taking these positive measures into their manufacturing and processes. There are certain EU requirements over here which we'll not go into, obviously, and there are certain checks which need to be made. The idea is to alert the consumer to make and ask the necessary questions. So next slide is this. This is another area which we consider merits some attention from a consumer awareness perspective, which is investment in bonds. As you may be aware, we sometimes get local issuers over here issuing bonds on the stock exchange. And whenever a local issue is issued, it is immediately lapped up. I mean, you get there's a lot of liquidity in the market. People have money waiting in a bank. As soon as a bond issue comes, it is taken up. So it's irrespective of the coupon value. So people just invest. We're not quite aware, we're not quite sure that people actually understand the risk-return profile. So if a bond is offering 3.5% coupon, is it risky? Should it be offering more? We don't know, but we need people to understand the risk-return profile by investors. And that is what we need to focus on. And also prospectus disclosures. Whenever there's a bond issue, it is usually accompanied with a very long document called the prospectus, which is even daunting sometimes just by looking at it, but it's very important to be read and understood. So the idea is to at least highlight the risk warning, the parts which need to be addressed on an ongoing basis. So the campaign will address, as I mentioned, the difference between risk and return, the interpretation of various disclosures in the prospectus, and certain clarification of terminology used. For example, you find secured versus unsecured bonds. What's the difference between them? And that would need to be part of our campaign, where we do these kind of explanations. Another campaign is the cybersecurity campaign. And cybersecurity and digital was always on our agenda as MFSA, but a couple of findings in the OECD survey seem to merit a bit more. One of them related to the percentage of adults who shop online, and they were faced with a statement like they would consider that purchasing through making transactions through public Wi-Fi is safe. And the respondents for Malta did not disagree with this statement, so there's a double negative, so they agreed. On another side as well, the number of persons who actually monitor their financial affairs using digital means do not have the sufficient digital knowledge. So we plan to consider a campaign, to carry out a campaign later on this year, which will address basically these areas. So social engineering, so the use of deception to manipulate individuals to divulge confidential information or personal info, where obviously they will end up being scammed. Basic cybersecurity tips when you're doing online shopping and what you need to look out for and how safe the website is, etc., etc. Risks attributed to online gaming within the finance context as well, and over here we plan to draw as well the attention of people who play actually games online, especially children. They play online, and then you get a request to purchase certain features because it makes the game better, and you end up spending a lot of money, or actually giving information on credit cards and other financial instruments which can be scammed, which can lead to scams. And also platformization, which essentially is the purchasing of financial instruments through digital means, which is becoming more and more the order of the day. So the next steps as well, apart from these campaigns, is the establishment of a financial educational calendar, which the MFSA will be carrying out during 2024. So it's not just these three main campaigns. We plan to also carry out other activities in between the campaigns to increase our exposure over there and to create greater awareness on a different type of topics. We are collaborating with other entities, including ġemma, to synergize better our efforts in this area. As what I mentioned, we engage in the consumer education campaigns, and we're also participating in a National Stakeholders Committee, which is a working group to coordinate the financial education initiative on a national level. There are a lot of people and entities doing a lot of work in this area, and we feel it is very important to, on a national level, coordinate these efforts to avoid possible overlaps and even gaps. So as a country, I think we need to coordinate better this area to achieve better results. So basically, that was the end of my presentation to you. I'll be very happy to take up any questions.